Hello, and welcome to Cheryl's Pearls of Wisdom. Today's topic is about women in general. What roles do we play in the life and the journey on earth? Starting with our own families, our siblings, our friends, our significant partners, our husbands, right down to what role we play in a sisterhood at church. But I want to start with when God created Adam and Eve in his image. They were both created in his image. It takes a man and a woman to show the wholeness of what God is in that image. So when God created Eve, he said, "Let us make a suitable helper." And the word is Ezer Kenegdo. Now, I probably didn't say Kenegdo right, but perhaps I did. I hope. But my Southern drawl always kind of plays with me a little bit. But that's pretty powerful because the word Ezer is something that God refers to himself many times as the helper. All right. Now, I'm not saying that we're God. I don't mean that. But it's important to show what roles that we play. Uh, I think our role in society is always that of the domesticator. I don't believe that God created Eve so that Adam could have his clothes washed and food cooked, because at that point, Adam was being sustained on his own with God, right? I believe he wanted a suitable helper, which we often are looked at in society as a lesser diminished role in what we play because man is head of our spiritual house. Well, making him the head of the spiritual house doesn't mean that we're not capable of being equal partners with him in the sense of helping him where he really truly needs it. And I think a lot of times when you start thinking of what you want to be when you grow up, there's nothing wrong if you decide to be a stay-at-home mom and a wife and all. But there's oftentimes where I hear women saying that they're very depressed and sad because they feel like they have so much more to offer, and yet they aren't feeling fulfilled with just being a mom and a wife. All right. Some women are, but for the most part, and I'll just speak to myself, I don't know that I could ever have been a stay at home mom, though I worked from the home. I worked and took care of the house. But there was many times where I struggled trying to understand what role was I really playing, because I was, uh, our role is greater than the title it's in itself. It really is. I believe a wife and a mother is the part of the glue that keeps the family together. Um, it tells us in Proverbs that she is covered with strength and dignity, And when you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, she was working at the marketplace as well. She was getting up before everybody else. So a lot of times I think that if you decide to be a stay-at-home mom, there's nothing wrong with it. But you may go through moments where you feel like you're not being used to your fullest capacity. And when your kids go to school, then you drop them off and you've got to go home and clean and do things. But then you think there's more to life than this, right? We're so excited when we first get married. And that's the first role we assumed is the wife. And it starts by taking the husband's last name. So things change. Then two worlds collide and you try to figure out personalities and how to best serve one another. I know that it tells us that husbands must love their wives as if they love themselves, and wives are to respect their husbands. But I want to make sure that the role and the term suitable helper is understood, that we come alongside of our husbands to help him through situations. He's our protector, but we're also protecting him as well. I want to talk about Deborah. Deborah was an awesome protector. She was that of a wife, and she, was a judge as well, and a prophetess, and the strength that she had. When you think about Ruth, Ruth had to have courage to do what she needed to do to take care of the people of the Israelites whenever the kings were going to Haman, I think it was. I think it was Haman, right? Yeah. Mordecai, Haman. When Haman was going to murder the Israelites, she had to step up and have courage. So she was playing a role of a wife, if you will, but she was also showing courage and boldness and protection of people. So she had to step into that role out. So that meant that she would have to go before the king, her husband, and maybe it was a form of disrespect because she went in a time that she could have lost her life. But she knew that the role that she was called to do by God was greater than offending her husband, right? So that's where she listened to God over her husband. So you should submit to your husband's wives, but you don't need to necessarily, you would never put them before God, right? God's first, whatever God says. And there's sometimes where us women as wives, we actually straighten the rudder, if you will, for our husbands. We have to put them back in alignment with what God is saying and discern things. And often our intuition, our discernment is something God gave us naturally and gifted in us. We know when something's up with our kids, for instance. We just know there's something going on or they're in trouble, and we have to listen to that nudging of the Spirit. So that's in every woman to have that. That's also there to serve your children as well as your husband. And so sometimes that means we have to come up and have those conversations with our husband that he may think you're being disrespectful. But if you're doing it in a loving tone and you're saying, hey, I just need you to pay attention here because I don't think that's a wise decision, then, your husbands should be able to listen to that as well. I think it takes, there's sometimes where, I'll speak about my first marriage, where it was a give and take in a sense that where I couldn't, he did, and when he couldn't, I did. So there was times where I was providing for the family, and there was times where he was providing for the family. But together we did what we needed to do. And it reminded me of World War II when all the men were taking to Germany and to Europe. The women, the Rosie Riveters, were putting the ships together. They were making the ammunition. They were stepping into the roles of what men do. But they weren't losing the quality of being a woman either, because they were happy to give those roles up to their husbands when they came home. So that is a Ezer Kenegdo woman, rise up Ezer warriors, right? We can do what we need to do. And I laugh because I preached a sermon a couple of weeks ago pertaining to taking out the trash, meaning we were rebuilding, we were in Nehemiah, but I was referring to, I know how to take out the trash just like my husband does. The difference is I can take it out in high heels, right? So I don't need to go put on my tennis shoes to roll the trash can out. If I'm in a hurry, I can roll it in heels. I don't have to give up my feminine qualities to assume a responsibility that my husband normally would do, and I'm able to do it. Nor do I need to shame my husband because he didn't do it, right? I'm capable of doing that. And obviously, our husbands, for the most part, do what they need to do when they need to do it. But let's talk about our partnerships as a woman. When we talk about partnerships with as a husband, we have children, and your husband is first, and there's God, there's your husband, and then there's your children. And it's very hard when you start having kids because you're trying to play as a woman. We're putting on many hats. We're having to, now I'm the wife, now I'm the mom, now I'm the housekeeper, I'm the chauffeur. And I've always said a woman is so grossly underpaid for all the roles that she has to assume and take care of. But a great partnership is when your husband knows how to wash the dishes too. It doesn't become just your role domestically. You're helping each other out. You're lifting each other up when needed, as needed. And, if I have to be the provider in the marriage that I'm in now, if something happened, I would step up and do what I need to do to cover my husband, because that's what we do. You do it together and you work it together. We have a rule. For instance, I was laughing because we have a rule where we have to agree on spending $300 together. Anything above $300, we talk about. No, let me repeat that. I think I said that wrong. Our rule is we don't spend more than $300 without speaking to one another first. And so we have to laugh because women can be creative. I know I am. I have a little bit of he don't know about money, right? And I know that he's got to have a little she don't know about money. And so sometimes we are more creative because they say if you give a woman something, she will multiply it, right? We do that. We're able to multiply. We can make food out of nothing, right? So I love that ability of a woman is multi-layered, multifaceted in her abilities to do things, and so talented that way. And so is a man, but just differently. But we will multiply. You give us children, we're multiplying your family. You give us money, we will spend it wisely. But I will say that it is amazing that we can be creative sometimes. I remember thinking, if I have coupons and I get $400 worth of stuff, but the coupons took me down to $300, then I didn't spend $400. I only spent $300 because the coupons helped me out. So technically, I didn't need to get my husband's approval on that because I didn't exceed $300. But those are just little minor things. But learning to work things out in partnerships. How about partnerships with your kids' teachers too? I think that's important because I know when my youngest was going to school, she was not acclimating well in kindergarten. She kind of wanted to do her own thing. And so the teacher at that time was Mrs. Ginn. And I remember having a first parent-teacher conference, and Mrs. Ginn was telling me that she felt like, maybe we should put my daughter on medicine because she doesn't seem to want to settle down. And of course, I respected the teacher, but I didn't respect putting my children on medicine when their brain's not fully formed. So I told her, look, we'll partner on this. I'm not going to go and put my child on medication just to make your day easier. However, what I will do is I will partner with you on her behavior. When she gets in trouble at school, she's in trouble at home. And so she knows that I have your back as her teacher, that I will hold her accountable. So every day when she'd get off the bus, I would say, what color did you get? Did you get green or did you get red? Because if she got red, she was in trouble at home, just like she was at school. And so by doing that and partnering with her teacher, we were able to curve her behavior and make it more applicable so that she didn't disrupt the class. She was able to actually go on to be a really good student at that time. But it took a couple of months to get her to settle down and to know that I meant business, and so did her teacher. And so teaching children accountability. I think what's important to parents also, or women in general, is when we're looking at that role that we play, we think about when we're first married. Let's go back a minute. When we're first married, we assume a role that we think society wants us to be. And then we quickly realize that that's not sustaining us. Now, you could be raised in church and get married and still start questioning your identity, even though you were raised in church, because you're assuming a role of a wife, and then all of a sudden it's not quite what you thought it was going to be. It's a lot more in store. And so then you start searching for your purpose, and you start questioning things. And then you need to go back to the biblical, how did God create us, and why did he create me with this purpose? For what is that purpose? My will was keeping up, let's say in the beginning, what I thought was keeping up with the Smiths or the Joneses. If we have this and this and this and this, then we're going to have this perfect little family. And, then we'll be able to make cookies, and we'll be able to make Easter eggs at Easter time and whatnot. And again, every time I made the cookies, I was with the kids, it was quite the challenge, and it was very stressful because, let's face it, they don't tell you how stressful it's going to be when you become a wife and a mother and assume all these extra responsibilities. And even more so when you're working and having to take up these roles, it's even harder. Excuse me. But when you get back to trying to get biblically based, meaning like the foundation of Christ, we can go into, I love Psalms 139 for me, and I hope that this will help you because it's hard. We have so many roles to play, and then when we're raising our children, we want to make sure that we're raising them to be productive adults in society, that they're honoring the rules and the laws, they're respectful. And I would love it when my kids would spend the night sometimes, and parents would bring them home and they would say, they're so well behaved. And I thought, thank goodness, because at home, they don't always seem to be well behaved, but at least they didn't show out or show off, and disrupt something outside and create a problem. So that was always a blessing when that was brought home and I was told my kids were well-mannered. Thank you. So I thought, thank goodness, I must be doing something right, because we always question ourselves if we're, I know at least I have always questioned myself. And if you're questioning yourself, then you're already trying to be a good mom. And we don't have all the answers. We really don't. And what works for one child doesn't necessarily work for the others. But anyway, let's go to, so for as a woman, you know, you've got the Proverbs 31 woman. For King Solomon, his wife, his mom told him what she felt would be the appropriate wife. And I think that that's a beautiful chapter to read. Read it in its entirety because it makes you feel special, because God sees each woman as the apple of his eye and near and dear and special. And he collects our tears because, Lord, let me tell you, us women, we can cry, and it's okay when we've had those bad days. But in Psalms 139, it says, because God, remember, created us in his image, both male and female. And we're more than domesticated partners, all right? We are suitable helpers. He refers to us as ezer kenendos, which means we are helpers alongside of our husbands. Not, I've always said it, behind every good man is a woman, right? Or behind every successful man is a good woman. But let's face it, that woman is beside him, in front of him, protecting him if she needs to be. She's behind him, keeping his flank, you know, everything. She's taking care of what she needs to take care of. And we are stronger than we give ourselves credit for, because I don't think a man could go through labor. Okay, that's the closest to death I think a woman's ever going to come to. But let's go to Psalms 139. Excuse me. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know me when I sit and when I rise. I love that he already knows us so well. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Who knows us better than God? Even our ugly parts, God knows us and still loves us. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. Isn't that amazing? Before you even put the word in your mouth, God already knows what you're thinking. And this is one of my most special parts of Psalms 139. You hem me in behind and before. You lay your hand upon me. Think about when you hem a pair of pants. You're surrounded and protected. That hem is. He's telling us he hems us into his protection so that we're not going to come unraveled, that he's got us. And I love that you hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to obtain. Yeah, because he leaves us astounded with how he loves us and how he knows us. And let's face it, our husbands should know us. Your boyfriend should know you, the good, the bad, and the ugly of us, meaning that they still love you anyway, because love is blind and love covers a multitude of problems or sins, we can say. But it's important that how many of us have ever had that conversation with our partners, our husbands, our boyfriends, if you're just dating in college or high school? How well do they know you? I mean, do they know what your favorite chocolate, your favorite food or dessert is? Do they know what you enjoy to relax, like if it's going to the beach? Do they know what your favorite color is? Do you like roses, flowers, or just perfumes and chocolates and candies? Again, it's important that whoever you're choosing your life to be with is that they get to know you the way God knows you, right? They're not going to ever know everything the way God knows, because only God himself is that powerful. However, they should come pretty close second to that, right? That's very important. In verse 7, it says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn. Oh, isn't that beautiful? If I rise on the wings of the dawn. Oh my goodness, that's just beautiful. If I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Does that give you peace? Will that give you peace? Even when excuse me, let me go back. I lost my, verse 10. Even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me. Even the darkness will not be dark to you because he's God. He's the word. He's light. He brings light into darkness. The night will shine like the days, for the darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully, wonderfully made, and your works are wonderful. I know that full well my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of earth, your eyes saw my unformed body, and all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts. God, how vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand. When I wake, I am still with you. I used to tell my kids when I said I love you, they would say how much. I said more than the grains of sand in the ocean, which is a lot. When I wake up, I'm still with you. If only you, God, would slay the wicked away from me, who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you and with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord? And abhor those who, the light is so bad in here, who are in rebellion against you. I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. And lead me in the way of everlasting. So that is Psalms 139. That is so beautiful. I love that he hymns us in the wings of the dawn, which is so beautiful. And I want to go to Psalms 121 real quick. How many minutes do we have left? Okay, so this is another one. To me, I think Psalms is perfectly placed right in the middle of the Bible because it's what helps keep us balanced on God's love. And it's right past that is Proverbs. And of course, a Proverbs a day will keep the wicked away and keep you right as well. So you've got your beautiful Psalms and the Proverbs, and together they work hand in hand to remind us who God created us to be and how much he loves us, that he created us to be the head, not the tail. Even though our husbands are the head of the house, that doesn't mean we're behind the husband as the tail. We're both heads and the tail. Like we're the head, not the tail is what I'm trying to say. But he's the leader, spiritual leader of the house. And so because God created him first. And so we know that he leads, but he has to be worthy in leading a godly life, so that you will willingly be submissive to that man correctly, to not be abused in any way, but to be willing to lay down your life for that spouse because you trust him like that. You could close your eyes and fall backwards into his arms and trust that he's going to catch you, right? That's the way your husband should be. We lead by examples. Both men and women should lead godly examples so that we have a legacy for our children and our family and our friends to follow. We don't want to be hypocritical. We want to honor, and that doesn't mean we're perfect, but it's important that men understand who they are in order to assume the role of being the head of your house spiritually. They have to be willing to lead that spiritually. So if you feel like your husband's not doing that, well, then you need to go to God, because whatever God says is what you're going to do. You're not going to go the way your husband is if it's against what God says, right? So that becomes something that you have to pray about in your secret place, because hopefully you're yoked, you're equally yoked with one another in the sense that you knew that before you got married. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but that's a whole nother show, and we'll talk about that, because can you still survive if your spouse that's supposed to be leading is not spiritually leading correctly? Yes, you can, but that's going to take a lot of prayer, a lot of patience, and a lot of time with, talking to God and loving and still going to church, letting him see you go, praying that one day he will join you. And it will. God does answer. We know it's in his timing. So real quick, and we're going to wrap it up. because I have 4 minutes. Psalms 121. I lift up my eyes in the mountain. Excuse me. Let me see if I can. Let me put my glasses on. That may help. Let's just put this on real quick. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. Remember, we're Ezers. He refers to himself as Ezer. So we're Ezer Kenegdos, sorry. And I have to laugh because I will struggle to always say that word, I'm sure. But Ezer is help. So he's our help. So he's our Ezer. I lift up my eyes to the mountain. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, because God never sleeps. He who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand, and the sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. I think that is so beautiful. Let me go back over here real quick to finish it up. The Lord will watch over you coming and going, both now and forevermore. I love that he has us hemmed in. Listen, sometimes being a wife and a mother is not always fulfilling because there's days where it doesn't make sense. Things are chaotic and chaos and confusion, and you're tired. Then the kids are sick, and then you feel like, is this the life I really signed up for? The reality is it's worth it when you look back, because what you impart to your kids is patience, love, wisdom. And of course, when you become a grandparent, anything that you didn't do right as a mother, or you felt you could do better, you get a do-over with your grandchildren, and you get to just love and enjoy them. A lot of times we look and our kids grow up and we never got to say goodbye to that little person. And so I would say cherish it. But on the days that you're having a hard day, it's okay to put yourself to bed earlier, to tell your husband, hey, I just need a break. It's okay sometimes to schedule a weekly meeting with a girlfriend to just remember that you've got to take care of yourself too, because even on an airplane, it tells you when the mask comes down that you want to put the mask on you before you help anyone else, right? Because if you're out of breath, you can't help anyone. So we have to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves so that we can continue to take care of our families and our husbands. And no, it's not always perfect. There are some days that we really don't like because things don't work out right or things go wrong. But just know that God has you, God loves you, and hopefully your husband is a soft place for you to fall. And if you're considering getting married, question those things before you marry that person, because once you make that commitment, they don't often change. But with God, anything can happen. One day he can change everything, and one day that husband will be exactly what you need if you've already made that commitment. I'm not sure that this has helped you in any way. I'm praying it does, because anytime you read the word, it always helps me. It ministers to me. It reminds me who God called me to be, because I'm a daughter of the Most High King, and so are you. You're the apple of his eye, and he loves everything about you. He knows your name. Please join us for the next time. Shalom.